Welcome each and everyone. Always happy to have you guys back. Today, I'm gonna show you how to make Jamaican brown stew pork, and this recipe you can make for your whole entire family. My name is Chef Andre Henry, and you're watching Chef Henry Kitchen. Open your cupboard and your fridge, grab your ingredients, and let's make this recipe. I have to mention this. I have an all-purpose seasoning, and this is what I'll be using to season the brown stew pork. Let's dive in all the ingredients. I have some nice pork pieces for vegetable and green seasoning. I'm using scallion slash green onion, and this is from my garden. One large onion, thyme, that's also from my garden, sweet pepper, half of each, couple cloves of garlic, oregano leaves, and 2 carrots, and 1 large tomato. 1 tablespoon of pimento berry, and last but not least, browning for coloring. I'm gonna get gloves on. Now I have gloves on. I'm gonna start cutting up the pork. So you're gonna set it down and you wanna cut it like this. You want these pieces because we're making brown stew pork. This knife is sharp, but remember there's skin on the pork. And we're gonna leave this part with the bone. It's gonna go inside here. I switch knife, and I forget to mention how much pound of pork I'm using. I am using 4 pounds of pork. I know people are gonna come in the comment section and be like, Chef, sharpen your knife. Now I finish cutting up the pork into these small pieces. It's brown stew pork, and this is what it look like. Now I'm gonna wash the pork and I'm gonna add vinegar. I'm gonna massage the pork into the vinegar. You can also use lime juice. I'm gonna rinse the pork using tap water. You just wanna use room temperature water. Time to add seasoning. I'm gonna add the pimento berry, and I'm gonna add the seasoning. This is all-purpose seasoning, and there's a bunch of seasoning that I blend together to make this season mix. 1 tablespoon of jerk seasoning, 1 tablespoon of all-purpose seasoning, 1 tablespoon of meat seasoning, and 1 tablespoon of onion powder. This is enough seasoning, so we're just gonna add half a bottle. I'm gonna add browning, and remember, browning is used for coloring. I like to use a spoon when I'm adding browning. So we're gonna add 1 tablespoon first, and I'm gonna rest my spoon into this container because you don't want to make a mess. And I'm gonna use one hand to massage the browning into the pork with the seasoning. We're trying to get a good color. Now I'm gonna add 1 more tablespoon of browning. And this is the right concept and the right way to add browning. You don't want to add too much browning at once, and then it will be too dark. And also, I taste browning, and browning is a little bit salty. 2 tablespoons of browning, and look at the color. So I'm gonna add the final one, and this should bring the color up that I'm looking for. And this time, I'm gonna just dip the spoon right on the meat to clean it off. And this is the right color I'm looking for. Now I'm gonna remove these gloves and this seasoning right here. What we're gonna be cooking down the pork. So if the pot need more seasoning, the seasoning is right here. I'm gonna grab a cutting board because I'm gonna cut up the green onion and also the thyme and oregano leaf and garlic, and I'm gonna add it inside here. For the green onion, regular onion, oregano leaves, garlics, and the thyme. While I'm here, I'm gonna cut up the carrots, the sweet peppers, and the tomato. I'm gonna add them back on the plate. Back to the plate. And these is what I'm gonna use to cook down the pork. Now I'm gonna use the final gloves to mix everything in. And this pork is well seasoned. I'm gonna remove the gloves. I am going to cover using aluminum foil. I am going to place it in the fridge and let it marinate for 20 minutes. And the same with my cut up vegetables. I have my pot onto the stove, and this is the pot I'm gonna use to make the brown stew pork. So I'm gonna add vegetable oil, just enough to cover the bottom of the pot. You don't want to add too much oil. I'm gonna turn the stove on. Now the oil is hot, I'm gonna remove the aluminum foil and I'm gonna add the pork pieces into the oil. And I'm gonna shake them off by shaking off the green seasoning. Now I finish shaking off all the green season, and this is what's left behind. I'm gonna add back this into the pot when I'm cooking down the pork. I'm gonna let the pork pieces fry up into the oil for 15 minutes. But I'm gonna let it fry with the pot open for 7 minutes. Now I'm gonna check on the pork. Now I'm going to place the cover on. I'm gonna let it fry up for the remaining 8 minutes. Now I'm gonna check on the pot, and that's complete the 15 minutes of frying time. And also I'm gonna remove some of the oil. So I'm gonna shut the stove off. I'm gonna use a spoon. It's gonna lean the pot just like this. I'm just gonna scoop up the oil. Remove this much oil from the brown stew pork. Now I'm gonna cook down the pork. And we're gonna let the pork cook down for 45 minutes. So I'm gonna set this out of the way. And this is when you're gonna add all of your green season, and this is gonna boost the flavor into the pork. I am going to add 4 cups of hot water inside this, and I'm gonna add it into the pot. And lots of people may be asking why I'm using hot water. You don't want to cool down the meat. I'm gonna turn the stove on, and I'm gonna let it come to a rolling boil. Now the pot is boiling. I'm gonna check on the brown stew pork. And this is when I'm gonna do a taste. And if the pot need more seasoning, this is when we're gonna add more seasoning. Now I'm gonna add more seasoning. Remember, we saved the season for this reason. I'm gonna mix it in. So we're gonna cover for 2 minutes, then we're gonna do another taste. Now I'm gonna do a taste. Now I can add the rest of season, all of it. Now I know my pot gonna be well seasoned. You see, I have the right amount of seasoning. Now I'm gonna add the final ingredients, and this is what gonna cook it down to the final stage. I have 1/4 cup of ketchup into this bowl. I'm just gonna add some of the liquid from the pot into the bowl, and I'm gonna use it to mix out the ketchup. And I'm gonna add it into the pot. Now for the carrots and tomato, you guys may be wondering why he's adding ketchup and then he's gonna add tomato. Ketchup give it a different flavor from the regular tomato. And also sweet peppers. I'm gonna cover, remember, we're going for 45 minutes. We're gonna come back and check in 30 minutes. So set your timer for 30 minutes. Now it's been 30 minutes and the timer went off, and I'm gonna check on the pork and check it out, guys. And this is the concept of cooking. I'm gonna turn the stove down and I'm gonna leave the cover half mast, just like this. And this is just to let out some of the steam, and this is gonna help thicken the gravy. So I'm gonna turn the stove down and I'm gonna let this go for the remaining 15 minutes. Now I'm gonna check on the brown stew pork. I'm gonna give it the final stir. Guys, everything is looking good. I'm gonna shut the stove off and I'm gonna make a plate, and I will see you all for the taste test. Now I have my brown stew pork on a plate and I serve it with asparagus and rice. Taste test, and guys, as you see the title, you know this is my dad recipe, and I'm going in for the taste test. Oh my god. Flavorful pork, and I can't resist. I'm gonna try some of the rice with the gravy. Wow. Now I can't stop eating. It's bursting with flavor. If you follow everything in this recipe that I demonstrated, you will make the best Jamaican brown stew pork. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. I'm gonna take my stew pork off screen and I'm gonna finish what's on this plate. Guys, see you on the next one.